Hey everyone, thank you so much for joining us again for our DC Kids lesson. This week we're going to talk about Esther. And the story of Esther teaches us a wonderful lesson about timing. Now we're not talking about, just watching our clock and things like that. And we're talking about situational timing. That's why our top truth this week is this: God's timing equals perfect timing. We'll say that again. God's timing equals perfect timing. So what do I mean by that today? Well, let me show you. So the story of Easter is really an amazing example of how God is watching over us, and in His timing, everything works out perfectly. You see, the story of Esther goes like this. You have Esther, who is in Persia under the rule of King Ahasuerus. We know him by the name Xerxes, and she's there. The queen before her, Vashti, is kind of kicked out of the palace, right? And so now the king needs to take a new bride, and that's where Esther comes in. She's among the women that are going to be chosen for that position, and as we read along, we see that it's really God slipping in Esther for a purpose. But we don't find that out right in the beginning. We find that out later, that God is actually using Esther for a much bigger picture event. And what that event is the preservation of His people, the Jewish people. You see, because Esther herself is a Jew, and we so find it that through these string of events, Esther has to approach the king, who is not a Jew, who she thinks is possibly just going to let the destruction of her people happen. She has to approach him and humbly come before him and say, "Will you please save my people?" Because what she finds out is this other character in the story, whose name is Haman, has it out for the Jewish people. He's full of anger. He wants to be worshipped almost like the king is. He wants to be that godlike figure in the region of Persia. And because he's not finding it in certain places, he's taking it out on the Jewish people. He's going to go after him. He's like, you know what? All the Jews in Persia, every single one, we're going to kill them. We're going to get rid of them. And so Esther finds this out near the middle, the end of her story. And she immediately wants to go before the king, but her wise counsel and a dear friend, a father figure, his name is Mordecai. He says, wait and trust in the Lord's timing. He's going to give us the perfect moment to go before the king. And surely enough, as the story kind of comes to a close, she does get that chance to go before the king. And we kind of have that a famous scene, if you will, where the King Xerxes, he raises his scepter, which is a sign of acceptance. He says, "Esther, I will hear what you have to say." And she gets to talk it out. She says, "Please save my people." And she gets to bare her heart before him. And in love, King Xerxes receives it. He saves the Jewish people. And he actually does away with that evil character, Haman. And so, again, the whole thing, it's a beautiful story of God's timing. And so today, we have a kind of a silly example that's hopefully is going to help us explain this a little better. So we have two eggs, right? And like I said, our top truth today is that God's timing is perfect timing. So what do you think is going to happen if I just drop this egg, right? I drop it onto this plate below. Well, let's see. So you take your guess. I drop it from here. What do you think is going to happen? Let's see. Okay, so most of you probably got it right. It's going to crack. It's going to break, right? So what about this egg? So because our first egg cracked, right? So surely the same thing is going to happen to this. Let's find out. Take your guess. Let's see. Oh, well, I didn't mention I was just going to catch it below. But see, you didn't know that at the start. You didn't know that I was just going to drop it and catch it again. And you see, I think that's what this story teaches us, the story of Esther. Because it shows us that God, in His infinite wisdom, in His character, His ways are so high above our own. His ability to be so intimately involved and to see and to be so amazingly graciously in control of it all is so far above anything that we could ever imagine. And that was true for Esther. You see, she was focusing on what was right in front of her. She realizes a problem. She sees someone's going after her people, and she's like, oh no, what am I going to do? Is the king going to even receive me? And we see, as we have read this entire story that's now recorded for us, we've seen what's going on in Mordecai's life and how the Lord is arranging these meetings with Haman and King Xerxes and Esther, and God's using all of these things in his infinite wisdom. You see, because the whole while he's there to catch us. He's there in his infinite wisdom. His timing is perfect timing. And what did we say earlier? That Esther, at the perfect time, she was able to go before the king. The king received what she had to say in love. And God got the glory in this story, as he always does, as he always will, as he always should. God gets the glory. So remember today, even when you can't see, remember God, he sees it all. He's so amazingly in control, and his timing, God's timing, is perfect timing. Thank you so much for joining us again. Have a wonderful week, and we'll see you next time.